Howdy, this is Lemmy. Welcome to the RevZilla Redline for February 2018. Now you may be noticing from this wonderful weather here that I'm no longer in frozen Arctic Philadelphia. Instead, I came down to Austin, Texas. Honda had us down here to try out the new Goldwing and Goldwing Tour. Now if you've read any of our first ride reviews, you know that I've already got some time on those motorcycles. So Honda had us back for a second trip to sample their wares yet again. Of course I wasn't going to turn that down. This bike has gone on a serious diet. It's also got an all-new drivetrain and the electronics have been updated to the nines. So I'm going to be bopping around on this thing today in Austin. I'm taking you guys with me, but before we get into all of that, let's check back at HQ with Alessandra and Spurge.
Thanks, Lemmy. Coming up on this episode, we'll dive into staff picks for the adventure and street crowds, as well as all you at-home wrenchers.
And for those of you out there that have yet to winterize your motorcycle, we've got the top 3 areas you want to focus on for making sure your bike is prepared for the long winter's nap.
And Lemmy's going to tell you how the newest generation of the Goldwing affects the current state of the long-distance tourer.
And as always, for those of you out there looking for the best of what to expect in the world of new apparel, we've got the top brands and all of the new gear rolling out in the coming months.
Speaking of new gear, keep an eye out for our all-new 2018 gear guides, where we break down the best gear for every category and every type of rider.
As for me, in a few weeks I'll be heading out to Northern California to the Sonoma Raceway, where I'm going to get to spend some time with Kawasaki's new Ninja 400. We're going to ride it on the track, the street, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for not only the video review, but the full ride review on Common Tread.
Last but not least, we're giving away $2,000 in Dainese and AGV gear for this month's giveaway.
So whether you're looking for something from Dainese's 72 collection, like the jacket that I'm wearing right now, or maybe you want something a little bit more winter focused to keep you warm in the coldest months of the year, check out RevZilla.com/win to figure out what you would do with all that cold hard cash.
Now let's dive into those staff picks.
All right, so we kicked off staff picks last month by looking at the new Shoei VFX Evo helmet, which is replacing the VFXW. And that's a piece of gear that I'm super stoked on because I've spent a lot of time in it. So we're gonna do the same kicking off this month by looking at Klim. I spent a lot of time in Klim gear, and I'm really excited to see the way they're differentiating their line with street and off-road. And some of this new stuff they're coming out with is actually a real bang for your buck. For example, the Mojave pants that I'm wearing right now, I picked up about 6 months ago, and the reason I like these is they're a few dollars cheaper than the other brand off-road pants I was wearing, but they hold up a lot better. They don't tear and rip the first time you crash in them, and if you're riding off-road, chances are you're gonna fall down every now and then. So you can also mix and match within Klim's line. So for example, I wear the Mojave pants, and then I'll throw the Latitude jacket on over top of my armor and my jersey if I'm gonna be doing a little bit more dual sport riding, a little bit more on-road and off-road at the same time. So you want to make sure you check out what's new within their line, because they're really going to be differentiating that setup. Now, sticking with the adventure theme, if you are an adventure rider, chances are your bike has gone down from time to time, or maybe you've just gotten a flat tire. It's really important to supplement that kind of lackluster OEM toolkit, or the lack of toolkit altogether that comes with your bike, with a toolkit of your own. Now, Lem and I took a deep dive into this, and we actually have a video coming out where we show you exactly how we built out each of our toolkits and the different approaches that we took. For me, I started with a base kit from Cruise Tools, and this is actually the same kit that I got when I was heading down to Baja, California last year to spend time with the R1200 GS, and that's because I had no familiarity with how to really work on one of those particular bikes, because I haven't really crashed too many of them off-road. What I liked about the BMW specific kit was that I found it actually worked for my Triumph as well as my new KTM by just adding in and subtracting a few parts. Now, if you're looking at this and you're thinking, Spurge, I don't really go off-road, I don't do adventure stuff, I just stick primarily to the street, they have kits for that too. I know Alessandra actually uses one of these for her Sportster.
Exactly, Spurge. I got the Harley version of the RoadTech toolkit for my Sportster when I first got it, and it was really convenient having an extra set of tools for the road, especially as I started making changes to my bike. But next up, I want to call Dainese out for doing something that I've yet to see a manufacturer do in my 5 years working customer service at RevZilla. These are the Dainese Tempest D-Dry long gloves. And they're not men's, they're not women's, they're unisex gloves. Now, Dainese is the first major player to come out with unisex gloves, and it's a trend that they say they'll continue moving forward. They actually started doing this in spring of 2017, but it wasn't until I couldn't find winter gloves for myself in stock in my size that I noticed that they had 3XS available in their new line. Lucky for me, that's my size. So what does this really mean for women? It means more options for protection, more options for different applications, and because men are using these as well, finally less pink. But before we wrap up, we have one more staff pick, and it's with Lemmy, so let's go to Austin and see what he's got.
Thanks, Alessandra. That's right, my staff pick for this month is the new Shoei RF-SR helmet. Now, my involvement with this helmet actually goes back a couple years when I was testing out Shoei's RF-1200, the helmet that this is actually based on. I wore that lid for our BMW S1000XR review, and I also wore it when I reviewed the Victory M-Pulse as well, and I was really impressed with the helmet. So I was pretty happy to find out that Shoei had come up with a new lid based on that design. Even happier still when Buzzsaw got me one to test out. Hold that thought. Tacos! My apologies. No video is too important to interrupt for some good tacos. So as I was saying, the RF-SR is a helmet I really dig, and there's two big reasons behind that. The first is this is a really quiet helmet. Now, some of you are gonna look at me and say, Lem, you're hiding behind a Honda Goldwing windshield. Of course it's gonna be quiet, even a 3/4 helmet would be quiet. That's true, but that's not the only bike I've been riding this helmet on. In fact, I had this for the Z900 RS launch. I rode that thing around, and that's a bike that's completely naked. There's no wind protection whatsoever, and this was still a really quiet helmet. Now that's really difficult for me too, because I modify all my helmets. Those of you with a beard are gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. A deep chin curtain always has to come out of my lids. It's incompatible with a beard. It just doesn't work out. A lot of times that can let all sorts of air and noise up inside the helmet. Even without the chin curtain though, the RF-SR doesn't suffer that same fate. It's nice having a lid that's really quiet. The second thing I really dig about this is the build quality. This is a sturdily built helmet. I beat the tar out of my helmets, and this thing just keeps coming back for more. The build quality is evident everywhere. Check out the detents in the face shield. They're so positive. Like, you know you're not gonna wear those things out anytime real soon. And when you close the face shield itself, listen to that thunk. It's like slamming a German car door. It just clicks right into place. It feels really solid. Some helmets have a chintzy feel. So even though the RF-SR isn't the cheapest helmet around, I still think it's a good value because I can amortize the cost over the expected 5-year lifespan, knowing this thing is actually going to make it to 5 years. So now let's get back over to world headquarters where Spurge's going to tell you a little bit about bike winterization.
So here in Philadelphia, we are deep in the throes of winter, which means that most of you have already laid your motorcycle down for a long winter's nap. If you haven't done so, however, these are the 3 main areas you need to focus on. First is going to be fuel. Now, we have written entire articles dedicated to the harmful nature of ethanol on common tread, but what you really need to know is that you need to add stabilization to your fuel before you put this bike away, because the ethanol in the gas can actually cause severe damage to your engine and its components. So what you want to do is you just want to get some kind of a stabilization unit, and you want to mix this in with your gas. Start the bike up, let it run for a few minutes, and you want to allow all of the mixed stabilized fuel to work its way down into the fuel injectors, or if your bike still has them, carburetors. Now the next thing you want to focus on is going to be your battery. Unless you're looking to replace your battery at the start of every season, you want to make sure it maintains a charge throughout the winter months. And this is going to be a simple little fix. All you need to do is go ahead and get yourself a float charger. Now, not all chargers are created equal. You don't want to get a trickle charger, which will allow a continuous charge to your battery, which can actually cause your battery to explode. Nobody wants that. You want to get something that has an automatic shutoff. A float charger will, sense when your battery is kind of draining and will turn itself on to put a little bit more of a charge on that battery. Now, for those of you out there that are parking your bike on the street all winter long, chances are you don't want to run an extension cord halfway down the block to charge that battery on your bike. So what you can do is you can take the battery out of your bike, take it to your back porch or your friend's garage, and allow it to charge in a well-ventilated area. Now, the other thing you can do while you're doing that is go ahead and grab your seat, pull it off the bike, and take it inside as well, so you're not worried about the vinyl cracking and drying out. Now, the third and final step is going to be motorcycle storage, and we understand that the gold standard for motorcycle storage is a warm, comfortable garage where your baby can sleep all winter long. However, that's just not a reality for everyone, especially for those of you out there living in the city. So what you want to do is you want to get some kind of a cover to keep the elements off your bike. Now, from time to time, go out, pull the cover off, and make sure there's no moisture stuck underneath. The idea here is you want to make sure that your bike stays dry all winter long. Now, those are the 3 main areas of focus. If you want a deeper dive, however, check out Lem's full winterization video. I have to warn you that there is a scene with a very scantily clad Lem sudsing down a motorcycle. As for now, let's go warm up inside with some new gear.
To start, we've got a new offering from Klim with the women's Avalon mesh jacket. Now, I'm particularly excited about this jacket because it's the first time that Klim's made a mesh jacket for women. Think their induction series, which was a fan favorite, but built from the ground up by female designers and just as bomb-proof as you'd expect from Klim. D3O back protector included. But what's most notable about this jacket is going to be the fit. We usually don't see a lot of stretch in mesh jackets, but we do on this one, and it even has a zippered gusset at the hip. Now, those things are important to complement the female figure and make it fit better. It also means that Klim has been listening to the feedback that they've gotten over the last few years from women riders, and that's something we love seeing. Keeping with cutting-edge new gear though, we also have the AGV Sportmodular carbon helmet. Obviously, AGV is known for their Rossi and Pisa GP lines, but this is the first time that they've ventured into the world of premium modular. It's also been a while since we've seen something so sporty and aggressive in a modular helmet. I'm pretty sure the last time was the laser monocle carbon. But either way, the Sportmodular is going to be the lightest in its class with an ECE rating and a full carbon shell as well as chin bar. It takes dead aim at Shoei and Schuberth and definitely dethrones the C3 and C4. That said, on the flip side, if you want something with a more approachable price tag that also has a Snell rating, Spurge has got you covered.
So if bang for your buck is what you're looking for in your new helmet, look no further than the Scorpion R420. I'm a big fan of Scorpion. I have an R710 personally, and this is going to be their new entry-level sport bike helmet with a Snell rating. So one of the things that I really like about Scorpion is they do a great job of mixing safety with style. So this is going to come around the $150 price point, and for that, you're getting a Snell rated helmet, but with more aggressive, sporty lines for those of you out there that are looking for something that has more of that sports style to it. Now, the other thing to note here is going to be fitment, because the most important thing to consider when you're looking at a new helmet is how the helmet actually fits. This is going to be an intermediate oval, and that's going to be longer front to back, a little bit narrower down the side of the head, and it's going to work for the majority of riders out there in the American market. Now, continuing with our bang for the buck discussion, take a look at the REV'IT Chicane gloves that Brian's wearing. So one of the things that I really like about REV'IT is they knock it out of the park when it comes to gloves. For the past, I'd say 11 to 12 years, they've been my #1 go-to when I'm considering new gloves. From the original Monster gloves to the new Sand 3s, these are really the gloves that I go to. And with the Chicane, what I like about these is a really high quality, almost track-like feel, but in something that's a little bit more short, cuffed, sport oriented. So these are going to come in around the $150 price point. And why that's important is that the feel to these is more around the $250 price point. So they feel like they're a much more expensive glove than what you're going to have to shell out to get them on your paws. So with that all said and done, let's now check back in with Lemmy, who's down in Austin, and he is going to fill us in on his thoughts on the Goldwing as well as his thoughts on touring motorcycles.
Let me tell you a little bit about touring on a motorcycle. I've been running around the Lone Star State on this fully loaded Honda Goldwing here, and Honda really kind of rethought their philosophy on touring with the advent of this motorcycle. And it got me thinking about my philosophy on touring. Now, I tour on motorcycles all the time, lots of different machinery, and I do it lots of different ways. For instance, on a lot of my personal bikes, I'll do it completely inappropriately. These are terrible old claptrap machines. I'll jam whatever fits into my pockets in there, lash some stuff to a sissy bar, and gallivant all over the country, breaking down hither and yon. Now, this is made possible largely because I'm doing it with friends. There's a lot of camaraderie that exists there, and there's something about overcoming a challenge that's an awful lot of fun. Now, the other half of my tours, of course, are on press bikes, much like this one, fully loaded to the gills sometimes with all sorts of trinkets to make touring a little bit easier. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's not very hard. Well, it's as hard as you're gonna make it. I think a lot of it boils down to mileage. Sure, 200 or 300 miles a day on a chopper that keeps breaking down can be really difficult. But similarly, doing 1,000 or 1,200 miles a day, back to back to back, is also kind of difficult too. Things that we might consider trinkets or frippery, like a TFT dash, start to seem really necessary, and the TFT dash isn't necessarily playing music videos, but instead feeding you vital information about a motorcycle that you might be pounding for 15, 16, 17 hours a day. Things like a kick and sound system that might make people think that you're just into showing up at the bar and showing off might actually become a little bit more necessary, and you realize for those same hours you're just listening to the tires roll over the road over and over and over. Really, I think the whole thing kind of boils down to mileage, both daily as well as cumulative. Touring can be as hard or as easy as you maybe want to make it. If you're the type of touring rider though who's putting 4, 5, 6 sets of skins on your touring bike each year, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Now feel free to agree or argue with me down there in the comments section. And if you're interested in any of the gear or topics we talked about today, cruise on over to RevZilla.com where you can check out videos, articles, and get our expert opinion on everything two wheels. We'll see you next month on the Redline.